Coach, thanks a lot for joining me on this SimpleCoach interview. This is one that I've been looking forward to since we connected, as you are now the new head men's coach at University of Chicago. First of all, congratulations. And again, knowing that you're probably drinking from a fire hose right now, like you taking the time is really appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate having me on and looking forward to it. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, so again, congrats on being named the head men's coach. You know, maybe you could just talk about sort of your background and how you ended up where you're at now.
Yeah, well, have a pretty extensive background in playing. I actually started playing soccer when I was 5, was the only female, played with a lot of boys in our Oswego community little park district league, and then just kind of grew from there, playing all different sports. And really by high school, I just narrowed everything down and just wanted to focus on soccer. I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a pro. I would tell my dad that I'm going to be a pro soccer player. And by high school, I just really wanted to take all my time and focus and training for that dream to come to life. And so high school, bounced around a couple different club teams, played college at DePaul University. When I was in college, the WUSA had folded, so I was looking to try to play pro and pursue that dream, and that opportunity was in Sweden. So I left my senior year spring. My senior year, went over, played in Sweden, absolutely loved it. Came back here and continued to just play in the different leagues where they were paying players by games and doing things until the WPS came. Drafted to Sky Blue, won a national championship with them, played with Chicago in the WPS, a little bit of Western New York and Atlanta. WPS had folded, spent some time in Australia, went back to Sweden a little bit, played in the WPSL Elite League, and then that's when NWSL, which is still the current professional league that's happening now, played with them, played in that league with Chicago Red Stars. And after retirement, wasn't actually quite sure which route I was going to go. Loved doing individuals, loved doing some coaching a little local high school team and stuff. So just really found some passion in working with the youth, but also doing some personal training, fitness classes and stuff. So it wasn't really until the job available at University of Chicago on the women's side as the assistant was really kind of dove in and was like, after being there, I was like, I really want to coach. This is my passion. I want to move forward with that. So was at U Chicago for 3 years, had a small stint at University of Illinois at Chicago for D1, and then had been with the Red Stars for the past 2 seasons and a little bit of this previous season. And then now I'm here back at University of Chicago on the men's side.
So it sounds like you followed the path of many a player of just being a journeyman, right? Like you were going wherever there was a game because
Yeah.
right? Because that was my experience. Like, okay, I'll go to Ohio, I'll go to New York, I'll go wherever I could get on a team is where I ended up going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and especially when the WUSA had folded and then playing in Sweden and coming back and just trying to think about like that dream of playing here in the Pro League, and everyone kept saying it's going to come back, it's going to be this year. So you kind of are in this waiting period and you're playing in your whatever team is the highest one that you can play on and that is getting paid. Like you're doing that, and then you're training so much in the off season to stay fit and ready because you never know when that opportunity is going to come. So it's I wouldn't change it for anything. Like, it was great. Some of the best memories traveling around. You think about traveling in a 15-passenger van or a small bus, and it's not as like glorious as the athletes have it today. So but I would never trade that for anything. And those are some of my most memorable moments of playing soccer. So, and then to kind of get through that and to be around to play in the WPS. And then continue to still fight, and that's in that gap year between WPS and NWSL to go back to Sweden and play. I was very fortunate to have those opportunities, but it is that you're fighting, and you're just waiting for that moment for it to be there and to live
be
out
real.
that dream.
I always kept waiting for it to be real. I guess that was the best way. Like all the teams, and it was great and all that stuff, but it just never felt like it was real like real professional until I got a glimpse of it in Europe, and then I just wasn't good enough. Oh man, so close, so close.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
let me ask you something. This is totally unrelated to soccer. Are you do you run marathons or?
Yes, I run marathons and do Ironman. So I've done a
That's it.
full Ironman, and then I've done like 7, maybe half Ironmans, and then I've done 6 marathons, I believe.
Yeah. So
So
you're
that
crazy.
was
It's okay.
my yeah, that was my biggest thing. Like after I retired, it was what am I going to do
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like is that competitive edge, and and so that's when I kind of fell into the pattern of triathlons. Like I fell in love with doing triathlons, and so that became my competitive edge, and that's where I kind of
Yeah.
dove into and did them competitively for a while and stuff. So that was my
I'm
favorite.
always aiming to go viral here, so I have to ask you, as far as I know, and there's some controversy, and we'll sort this out, that I'm aware that you're one of definitely 2, possibly 3 female head coaches managing men's teams. Um, yeah, so Kim Lyon at NYU,
Yes, that's
there's
correct, I believe.
Colette Montgomery. We're still debating. I'm at North Central, and now you. And then I do have to give a shout out to Marina Kelly, who just got the director of soccer operations at Brown University, and she's a University of Scranton former assistant. So, but anyhow, just more curious, like, what does that, what does it, what are your thoughts on that? Um, I'll just say this, comfort of schools choosing women coaches to run men's teams. Does that make sense?
Um, Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I believe there's another assistant, Kendall. I'm blanking on her last
Okay.
name, but I want to believe that she's an assistant coach as well on the men's side. So I do think that there are a few females out there
Yeah, oh, yeah,
on the men's side
yeah.
in the assistant roles, or coaching high school soccer team. Yeah, which I think is great, and I think it's like when this opportunity had come about and it had come to my plate, I, like thought about it. I was like, well, I 100% I'm going to go for it. I never thought of applying really myself just because, you don't see it, or those opportunities aren't there. And so when this came about and speaking with
Hmm.
people about it, I was like, I'm 100% going to go for this. This is amazing to even be considered or to be put into the pool for this opportunity. And I felt very fortunate for that. And I talked to Kim, right? Like Kim was a huge inspiration and mentor for me in that role. And I hope for myself that this is not the last. And I hope we're continuing to move forward as women are more than qualified to have roles on men's sides. And, I hope to be an inspiration and a mentor for other women that are looking to step into these roles, the same that Kim was for me. And I think it's important for young girls and young women to see people in these roles,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they can aspire to be that, right? If you don't see it, you don't dream it, right? And that was even for like myself as a young athlete, right? Like I grew up watching MLS, men's soccer, and it wasn't really until like the 99 World Cup where I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. They're like me. They're doing this. They're going. And so I think that is an important piece with this as we continue to move forward. Is I believe that schools and conferences and that we're going to move forward and have these roles, and women are going to be up for jobs and competing for jobs in this role. So, and again, like I just hope to continue to be a mentor the same way that Kim and other women before us. I believe I was talking with Kim, I want to say that there might have been another woman before us.
Yeah.
We hope to continue
I
to inspire
I
and be
always say this is
mentors.
about soccer, right? Like, and I just look at your resume and what you mentioned. It's like you got the pedigree, right? Like, there's no other reason not to, right? Like, whether it was Chicago or not, that's a whole, it's a job process as far as I'm concerned. But but you have the resume and you have the experience, and I think that brings a lot to any program. And I think more and more women are experiencing that, right? And I'm sure, like you said, I'm sure we'll be seeing more of them, and that you won't be such the minority on the men's side. So I do have to ask, like, were there any reservations about the job, about
Yeah.
taking a head men's position, especially at Chicago, right? Like, and I'd be reluctant as a man, just because of, oh my gosh, look at how well they did this season, and those are big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I had no reservations. I think, well, for one, I've been here on the women's side, and I absolutely love the university. I love the athletics program. I love the support from other coaches. Like, it was always a special place to me when I was here, and the way that the athletic community is, and the coaches support each other. That it's like that was I was like, I wanted to be back involved in that, and that was some of the greatest things about being here, outside of like the success that we had on the women's side when it was here. And it's, to your point about talking, like, it is soccer, and you're absolutely right. I had no reservations. I'm coaching athletes, and I love to be coaching athletes, working with them to reach their full potential on and off the field. If I have a women's team or a men's team, I'm not coaching them any different. I'm not tailoring culture to be something different, right? Like, I want them to, have good character. What are our values? How are we going to create a championship culture, and are laying down resiliency, and who we are, and our standards, and our accountability, and our trust, and our respect to each other. Like, those things would never change or waver, whether I was working with a women's team or a men's program. So the way that I see it is that I'm working with an athlete that wants to be the best, wants to be successful, wants to put their best foot forward every single day, and wants to grow and continue to develop and learn. And so for me, like, my job is to show up and lay that foundation where they can come and be successful, and be in an environment where they feel supported, where they can be confident, where they can grow and be challenged. And so for me, I had no reservations, because it
That's
doesn't
awesome.
waver for me.
I love that
the men's side or
idea
the
of,
women's
like,
side.
you're not coaching men or women, you're coaching athletes. That to me that sums it up right there. That's a great way to just sort of focus that in for me. All right, so you had a great professional career, U.S., Sweden, Australia. Is there anything along that journey that you think to yourself, oh, it would be something that you would want to implement for the program at Chicago? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I took a lot of things away from all of my experiences, right? Like, there's always positive and maybe areas where, like, oh, maybe that doesn't fit like my philosophies or different things, right? Or there's things that you really like, but you want to tailor it to make your own. And I think throughout my playing career and other coaching opportunities that I've had, I'm like a sponge. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to challenge myself to continue to grow and learn. So I'm taking things from all the different experiences that I've had to make them my own. And how do I want to implement this stuff into the program that I hope to one day take over, right? Which happens to be now, like, U Chicago. So I would say within that, there's a lot of things that I kind of, used from my experience that I can continue to take and layer in at every place. And I'm sure potentially, here I'm going to learn things and take them, oh, I didn't like that, or, oh, I really like this, and how can I continue to move forward with this? So, I think, again, like, even with coaching, things have to ebb and flow. Your team is not the same every year, right? Like, you lose 2-3 guys, like, the culture is different, the personalities are different. So how do you adjust? How do you continue to, like, move forward? And, like, you have to be able to adapt. And I think that for me, I feel very fortunate to have had a lot of experiences and playing in a lot of different cultures and playing in a lot of different leagues to help formulate.
I mean, there's obviously
where
going to
I'm
be
moving
differences
now.
because it's an academic environment that you're in now versus a professional environment. But from a soccer perspective, is there a big difference culturally between that professional environment versus what you're what I'll just say very generally a Division III student athlete experiences at the collegiate level? Like, are there, I mean, they're still working out, they're doing all those things that they have to do on the side to become better.
Yeah, no, I mean, stepping in this environment, like this team is driven, they are competitive, and like I don't believe that wavers on the like environment you're in. Like they are very dedicated, they want to achieve, they want to be successful, and when they step onto that field to train, like it is all or nothing. Like they are putting everything into it, they are working
Right.
hard. You know, they're just not at a pro environment, they're still in school competing, right? So but they are bringing all the same attributes that, you know, you would hope that every team is